All right, everybody. Appreciate y'all listening in today. I've got another awesome college baseball coach interview lined up today. Today, I'm speaking with Coach Kelly Corl from William and Mary. How you doing, Coach?
Doing good, doing good. Thank you so much, Andy, for having me on here. I'm hoping I can provide some info for the families and just any high school students that have questions about the college process or college baseball.
Awesome, man. I really appreciate you carving out some time. I know the summer is a pretty busy time, for everybody getting things figured out, but also maybe a little downtime. Kind of talk about kind of how things are looking here, middle of August. When are guys starting to report on campus? What's the timeline for you guys there?
So our freshman move-in date is actually this Thursday, so it's coming up real quick here. So that would be today's the 17th, so we got 3 days. Yeah, so coming up real quick. So we're very excited for that. And then some of our grad certificate guys who they kind of start a little bit later, they have a little bit more freedom. Those guys have already moved in off campus, so they've been coming to the field, doing their thing, hitting.
Cool.
Um, Getting after it. So it's really exciting. The summer, it's like you feel like nobody's home, and then everybody's coming back. You're ready to, see what we can do. So we're very, very excited.
Awesome. It's always an exciting time when new faces are coming in and guys are refreshed and, getting ready for the season. So talk a little bit about kind of the sort of the expectations from a coaching staff perspective there. How you guys feeling about the upcoming season, the group that's coming in? How's the excitement around the program right now?
We're feeling really good. We were very young last year on the mound, especially. We haven't checked this stat, but we feel like we had some of the most freshman innings in the country in Division One baseball. It's what it felt like, at least. Just a lot of young guys that we kind of let them go through some growing pains, but learn a lot through experience. So that was really exciting for us. And all of those guys are coming back this year. All those pitchers, all those young guys, a lot of our young position players too. So we're trying to build that core, and it kind of seems like they have built that and they're ready to win a championship. And got a good class coming in, 10 2026s. Very excited about those guys too. Feeling like we're starting. This is a relatively new coaching staff. The head coach took over here 2 years ago. So this has kind of been building up, and we're really excited for this coming year.
Awesome. So you mentioned and we'll get into a little bit of this here as we chat today, but you mentioned like double digit high school seniors coming in. So it sounds like you guys have still been pretty like observant, I guess, looking at the high school guys coming in. What's kind of been the mix for you? I know you're in year two there, but what have you kind of seen as sort of the what mix kind of makes sense for you guys, high school versus transfer portal and so forth?
That's an interesting question, and it's definitely something that we get asked a lot when I'm out at events or working a camp or just strictly recruiting. Is like, what do you guys go after? I think we believe that high school students are how you win championships. Those are the guys that come in as freshmen. They stay together for 3 or 4 years. Now 5 with the new rules, but 3 if they get drafted, right? And um, that's how you build the culture that we want to have. So as soon as we get a transfer that maybe is more of like filling a piece for us, right, that we need, right, whether that be a grad transfer a little bit more popular here just because of the academic requirements to get into William and Mary. So it's a little easier for us to get grad students, but those guys are coming in and they're kind of helping us fill a spot. Maybe a guy graduated, a guy left, or we need a better option in that position, right? So we definitely believe in high school students, high school student athletes being like the bricks that will build it up for us to win a championship. And those are the guys you build your program around.
No doubt. I mean, I've talked to a ton of coaches, and a lot of coaches talk about how culture it's a hard thing to build these days with a lot of guys coming and going and new faces, and even maybe the coaches kind of with the philosophy that they've established, maybe having trouble with like creating that culture. So it's really important though, right, to find guys who are fit for the
Absolutely.
school, a fit for the program. I mean, that's hugely important.
Absolutely. I think so I don't know. I know a lot of college coaches have had this situation, but I played for the head coach here 2 years ago when I was at Niagara University. He used to be the head coach, Coach Rob McCoy. He is all credit to him and what he does with culture. His ability to build a culture just day in and day out at practice, just based off of, having the guys get in front of the team each day and talk about one of our core values, one of the things that we hold ourselves to, presenting to the team so that people can understand, right? One of our core values is toughness. So one player will get up in front of the team, talk about how does toughness relate to what we're going to do in practice today and what we want to do in the spring. And those little moments, those little culture pieces build up things in a good way for us, I believe.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Now, for our families that maybe aren't as familiar with William and Mary, give us a little bit of some insight into the school, the program. What makes that place special? What is it about William and Mary that these families, if they haven't been as familiar with it, should take a closer look at it?
Absolutely, and this is the how I talk to my parents about it actually when I am able to speak to them about William and Mary. And there's no offense to anybody in these areas, but I grew up in Seattle. I lived in Arizona for a couple years, and then I played baseball in Buffalo, New York. And nothing against those places, but this is the best of all four. The weather, the pace of life, the people are very, very friendly. Walking around, you know, people are always asking if you need help, or they just see where I'm William and Mary, and there's a little bit of pride out here just being around because it's a close knit community. And one of the cool things about the area itself too is that we have Richmond about 45 minutes north, so that's your bigger city area, and then you got Virginia Beach 45 minutes south. So if you want to go hit the beach, get on the sand, jump in the water, it's definitely a cool location to be in. But it's a very unique school. I know there's other um, high academic schools out there, but we have high academic standards. The degree here is definitely something that is well renowned, and being able to do that, take care of business in the classroom, and then come compete at a school in a good conference in the CAA, play some really good teams throughout your conference schedule and in the midweek. It's definitely something that's very cool.
No doubt about it. I mean, obviously, that people put labels on schools and we talk about like Power Four and mid major and all these things. But I think in baseball, people don't always understand that what we might consider a mid major in other sports, it's extremely competitive in baseball. And sometimes they're even more competitive than some of the more renowned schools, right? So, kind of talk about who you guys play against and the competitiveness of that conference.
Yeah, so our conference is split up in the north and the south. We're in the south side of the conference. We play College of Charleston, UNC Wilmington, Campbell, um, NCA&T, and Elon, and those are our teams that we'll play home and homes with. I think that this is the playoff schedule that kind of changed recently, but we're able to basically play the team twice in our conference, and a lot of the teams. Um, they have some good players. We end up having some really intense games. You see guys that'll bounce back from a school like North Carolina or Wake Forest that are just out there and they're pitching in relief on these teams on a Saturday. So coming from the MAC, I played in the MAC, and no hate on the MAC. I loved it. It was competitive in its own way, but you get a little bit more depth on the weekends, and a little bit more of a competitive aspect every day on the weekend, Friday through Sunday. So
Yeah.
it's definitely a competitive league, and we had some fun games this past season. So
Now, are you guys typically, are there multiple teams that get into the regionals from the conference, or is it kind of a one bid league, or what's it kind of been historically here?
I think in the past it has been. There's been times where there may have been two teams, but
Mm-hmm.
as of recently, it's been a one bid. Um, I think there's an opportunity that if you win a lot of your midweek games and you have a really, really good record, I think that you can get, kind of that auto bid because of your strength of schedule. Um, but you got to earn it in this conference. It's tough. Last year, Campbell was one of the better teams, I guess, mid majors in the country, and Northeastern came down and beat them last year in the conference championship, and they were both extremely good teams, talented teams. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring a championship back to Williamsburg. That's our goal.
Absolutely, man. All right, I want to get back into your background a little bit because I was reading a little bit about your bio. You had a really interesting journey, it looks like. So our families, they hear a lot of stories about, how do we do this? And hey, if I go somewhere else, I can maybe get elsewhere and all. Things have changed a lot. And you're a guy that just kind of came out of your playing career a few years ago. So tell us a little bit about kind of your journey. How did you make your decision to initially go where you went, and then how did that college career progress for you?
Absolutely. So I grew up in Seattle, Washington. I lived there the first 18 years of my life. That place was great when I was young. Got to play a ton of baseball. Went to a great high school, O'Day High School. Had some great coaches there. That's a great program. And out of high school, I was a little bit of a late bloomer. I think that I actually started getting good maybe a little bit later in high school, maybe junior, senior year. So that's when I started to get a little bit more interest. I got to play in a couple cool events like area codes and those tournaments that you go to Florida and Arizona, like WWBA, Arizona Fall Classic, and through that I ended up getting a little more interest, and I got an opportunity from University of Washington, which was really close to home. And as you know, with the public colleges, in-state versus out-of-state scholarship, stuff like that, it's a little bit cheaper in-state. So it was definitely a better option for me at the time. And so I went and played there as a freshman. And right before we get there, my senior season, that's when COVID hit. And I don't want to talk about it too much because I'm glad it's over. But COVID, guys came back. We had fifth years coming back, guys in my position. So, that was a part of the grind, right? You had to come in as a freshman and try to beat out a fifth year or beat out a guy that's a senior in college, just like most places these days. But it seemed like it was a little more elevated at the time. And so that year I got limited playing time. In my opinion, I wasn't ready. I should have took my training a little bit more serious, been more game ready when I got to college because that was a high level of baseball. And so after that year got over, I decided to go to Paradise Valley Community College, which I played under Victor Solis and Jim Murphy. And that was a cool conference. It was wood bat all spring, something that I'll never forget. You get to go and drive really close down to the border of Mexico, play baseball, and then you're also playing in Phoenix. Just an incredible experience for me. I needed it. You kind of get the opportunity to literally rebuild as a baseball player in junior college, go through the basics, the fundamentals, the things that, are your bricks to becoming a baseball player again. And that's really how it was for me. And it was incredible. And I enjoyed it. It's something that, when I have family, friends close to me and they're like, I'm not really finding that interest, I'm telling them JUCO is not a bad route. JUCO, you learn a lot about yourself. And you learn a lot about the game. And after that, I got the chance to go play in Edmonton in the West Coast League in summer ball. I didn't have a ton of interest coming out of junior college, and played up there. Had a good couple games, and Niagara University reached out to me. And funny enough, they gave me a phone call, kind of told me, okay, here, we want you to come play for us. And it was kind of late. It was August at the time, which right now that would be late. And I looked up Niagara University on Google Images, called the coach back, and I said, all right, I'm coming. So I went out there, played for 2 years. And as a senior, we won the conference and went to a regional for the first time in program history. And that was under Coach Rob McCoy, who's here at William & Mary now. And just an incredible year, an incredible group of guys that I got to play with. And, some of those moments that you wish you could just relive. And so grateful, but that's kind of how it ended up here. I went and did a graduate assistant position at Niagara, helped out Coach Spadafora and Coach Haight, who are up there right now. And Coach McCoy called me, asked if I wanted to come down here and be an assistant coach and help out here, and did the same thing. Said yes, didn't even look at anything. So grateful to be where I am. I just finished year one, and it's cool getting 1 year under your belt. You feel like you're motivated to learn more and do more the next year. So I'm excited.
Well, that's an awesome story, man. And I've talked to some coaches that are like, 30, 40 years in, and, I ask them about like, hey, tell me about all that you've learned along the way. And so you're in just a completely different spot where it's like, I'm soaking it up now, man. I'm in that point in my career, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. I think that the coolest part about this game is that you can learn something every day and not even be trying to learn. I know that there's that thought process of being a sponge to every situation in the game and every moment, but sometimes you don't even need to be trying to learn something, and you'll learn something. And that happened to me this past year, just being, in games and getting to watch our hitting coach / recruiting coordinator, Caleb Lang, call the offense. He's basically like an offensive coordinator. He just loves to score runs, obviously like other hitting coaches, but I think he does it in a really good way. And it was really cool to watch his game thought and his process and learn from that, because that was some things that, when you're playing, you don't see, right? So being able to do that was amazing. I'm so grateful.
Awesome. And to have that opportunity at Niagara to go there and be part of like a historic run for that program, like what a great way to finish the college career.
So. Absolutely. Yeah, coming in with some guys, graduating all at the same time. A lot of us graduated that last year after we won. And it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool.
Awesome. Good stuff. Well, Coach, so if families pull up your like list on the coaching staff, they would see you listed as volunteer assistant. So talk a little bit about kind of that role. Like what is kind of your role on the staff? Like what are some of the things that you're tasked with? And I know that can vary from every single program, but at William & Mary, like what's kind of your role in that volunteer assistant position?
Absolutely. I think from what I've learned, volley is kind of a known term for college baseball coaches, but maybe for high school athletes that are playing baseball. They don't really know what a volley is, or maybe high school baseball as parents, right? So my position here, I actually have the opportunity to do grounds for the field. So I take care of our field. So everything from mowing to edging to just making it pretty, doing whatever I can to make it look good for the guys. And then on top of that, I have the opportunity to work with infield. So I was an infielder in college, and I work with the infielders here at William and Mary. But I've also got the opportunity to go out and recruit, do some cool events, and throughout the summer, I try to go to as many things as I can just to be able to see players in Virginia, DC, kind of. I stay more regional. I don't go as far, and I think that's kind of because of my age and just gaining trust on the recruiting trail. So yeah, a little bit of everything. I guess maybe a little bit of a Swiss Army knife in some ways. Little bit of everything. So someone asks for something, the volley does it.
For sure. How about like the camps? Like, what's kind of your role in like running camps? I know that's big in a lot of programs, and a lot of times, certain coaches have that responsibility in kind of putting those together.
I appreciate you bringing that up. That's also something I do. So I run our camps here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the one that invites the kids. I like to invite kids that I see out at events that I like, or if I see them on Twitter, because Twitter is basically a whole recruiting showcase in itself with how many videos you can see a day. So if there's kids I like, I reach out and I try to get them in front of our coaching staff. That's my goal as well. The camps are a great way to get on our field, get on our campus, see the area, and as well like just be seen by our whole staff. So that's another big part of what I do here as well.
No doubt. Now, talk a little bit about kind of how you guys use the camps. Like, get a little more insight because families, they have a lot of questions about camps. I'm probably talking every week, almost every day about like how do we handle these camp invites, and how do we pick which camps to go to. That's a huge topic in our world here, helping our families through this. So, kind of talk about how you guys utilize the camps, why they are really good opportunities for you to see kids, but also what are some questions families should ask themselves before they might choose to attend a William and Mary camp.
Absolutely. I think one of the first questions that you should ask is, am I interested in this school? Is this somewhere that I can see myself going? If you are very interested and you want to know if the coaches like you or if they see interest in you, I think it is a great idea to go to one of, you make a list of 5 schools, maybe pick 2 or 3 of them, depending on the budget you have for that summer for going to prospect camps. And you go out and you get your answer from that college staff. We've had guys that reach out to us and they want to come to camp, and we're like, they want us to see them, and we say, okay, we'll come to camp. The whole staff will be there because if 3 of the 4 coaches like the guy, then that puts him in a good spot, right? Obviously, the head coach makes the decisions, but if 3 of us are like, man, that he's really good at what he does, then he could walk out of there coming to William and Mary if he's interested enough.
For sure. Now, you talk about also kind of the regionality of the recruiting. Do you guys kind of have a national kind of list that you put together? Do you focus a little more kind of in the region? How do guys who are further away, how do you end up seeing them? Kind of talk about how you guys are putting your list together when you're putting the whiteboard together.
Absolutely. I think our roster right now has a lot of kids from Virginia, Maryland. We have some Northeast guys on our team as well. We have one guy from California. And then some of the grad transfers that have came in, we have guys coming from a lot further places, right, coming for their grad years. So I think that mainly our recruiting coordinator is on the road all summer, just like most recruiting coordinators are. But, he'll spend time at the Boston Classic in the Northeast, or he might go out to California, go to a Head First event. We typically will try to go to the high academic events because it's kind of our sweet spot for athletes, right? We have GPA requirements, kind of grade requirements. We are test optional, but typically our roster is majority built with some of the states near us and Virginia.
Mm-hmm. Got it. And that's typical in a lot of programs right around the country. Like, I mean, obviously you were a Seattle guy and kind of had a journey to get to Buffalo, as you said, but initially it was close to home, right? I think the reality for a lot of recruits is, hey man, like win the local area, right? And then if you want to go further from home, there could be opportunities, but they might not be coming to you necessarily, right? So if you were that Seattle guy wanting to go to William and Mary, as we go back to the camp probably would make sense for a guy like that, right? Because you may not be making a trip to go see one guy in Seattle, right?
Absolutely. I think that's, I've gotten emails recently from kids that are in California, and they send me their schedule. They say, "Hey, look, are you guys going to be at any of these events?" And we're not going to get out there, right? So that's kind of one of the things that I bring up with them is I say, our camp is the best opportunity for you to get seen by us. That's your best chance.
Awesome. So, Coach, I know that kind of you're sort of working with some of the recruiting now. So maybe a little bit of some insight for our families on just kind of your timelines there, William and Mary. Like, when do you guys start to? I mean, August 1st was just a couple of weeks ago. For the 28th. When do you guys start to really communicate with guys? When do you start to extend the offers? How late do things go for you? Kind of now that you've been through a full cycle there. What's kind of the timeline typically like for the guys there?
I think that our timeline definitely depends on the year. I think the rules coming out right now have definitely like made us become very adjustable, flexible, because we don't know. For example, we have a guy on our team who's was a senior last year, and there's a chance that he could come back, right? So as of right now, we're planning on that, hoping that 10th circuit goes through the right way for us, because we're hoping we can get him back. But I would say typically, we tend to not close it too early, right? We're not done with our 2027 class by any means. I think that, it's definitely getting closer to being done. Maybe one or two guys, if it's somebody that we just cannot pass up on. And we've already kind of started with our 2028s. We don't have anyone committed, but we are definitely in contact with 2028s. So.
Awesome. And so for families, what we've found and what you just, kind of expressed there is like things have gone a little bit later, right? Like the recruiting process has maybe gone a little later than it may have gone 5 years ago or 7 years ago because of a lot of the different factors that are happening now. So again, the high school guys, you guys kind of like to build around them, and that's really kind of where you think the bread and butter is. But how late would like those high school guys have to like maybe get that application in? Talk about the application process, right? Is that something where it's like, hey, you better go like early decision to have the best chance, or can they go like a regular decision? Kind of talk about that application process timeline.
Yeah, so it's funny you bring that up. We had a staff meeting today actually, and that was one of the things they talked about. The academics talked to us about. It's definitely more. It helps you out more if you're an early decision, because maybe if your grades are kind of on the fence, still good grades, obviously, but kind of on the fence to getting in on your own and not. At least that can be handled earlier, quicker. So I would say that that's something that we definitely look out for. But I think that, by the end of this year, our 2027 class is probably going to be pretty much finished up. And I think same thing will go for the 2028.
Yep. So it's important for families to understand that like the applications and all that have to be taken care of. But a lot of times for programs like yourselves, sometimes verbals have already been made, right? Even before the application process may even start. So then it just kind of comes down to, getting it in. So it's important for families to know that maybe you guys aren't going into November, December, like just like still scouring for those 27s anymore.
Right. Absolutely. I think that you bring up a good point. I think that if we do get to November, December, like we already know who that person is. We've already sent in a pre-read on them, which is basically us sending in the grades to make sure ahead of time before anything's done that he could get in, right? So we're kind of taking steps before all of that happens, right? So that we kind of know that we're good.
Awesome. Good stuff. Well, Coach, this has been awesome. A few more minutes left here. I'd love to kind of have you share some advice for families. Again, I know that, still kind of going through some early cycles with recruiting and meeting with families, but from your own experience in recruiting, the experience you've had now with starting to talk with some families a little bit, give our families some advice on recruiting. Like, what are some things that, hey, do these things and you're going to be in a good position, or try to avoid doing these things? Like, these are kind of some red flags. Like, what's some advice for families that you may have?
Absolutely. I think that's a great question. And this is something I've thought about a lot just because, I was playing recently. And I think one of the biggest things is search for playing time. Playing time is your best friend. Experience is your best friend. With the way college is these days, if you end up at a D3 school and you wanted to play Division I baseball, maybe you play well for 2 years and you get to go play Division I baseball, and you're more wanted because you put up 2 years of good numbers and experience, right? So I think that it's really important for high school student athletes in baseball and any college athletes to really, really put some importance on the idea of playing time. You want to feel like you are committed to and you have an opportunity to play early. I think that should be a goal for all baseball players because you get 5 years now, so play as much as you can. Um, and then along with that too, I remember when I was in junior college reaching out to coaches and you know wouldn't answer, and then I'd mess them again, thinking that something had changed. I think that in the nicest ways possible, recruiting can be kind of black and white sometimes. You can kind of have um, your answer can kind of be right in front of you, and you keep wishing. And I don't think that's a bad thing to keep wishing, but sometimes it's okay. Let's move forward. Let's do what's best for me. Let's go somewhere I can get playing time. I think that's really important, especially with just the game these days and how fast it's moving and how good it's getting. You want to be able to get a spot and play. So I think those are a couple of things that I've thought about just from playing. Some of the mistakes maybe I had made in the recruiting process in high school, and something that I'm going to hopefully advise my son one day when I have a kid and he plays baseball because I'm going to make him. Yeah, so I think those are a couple of things that resonate with me.
Well, and I think it's harder than ever to step in as a freshman, not only to get on the roster, but to play
Mm-hmm.
at the Division I level, but anywhere, right? Like the Division II baseball, the Division III baseball, the JUCO ball. It's as good as it's ever been. I mean, I was a D3 guy way back in the day, and I look at the guys that I work with now. They're going to play Division III, and I'm like, man, I don't know if I'd have played, 25 years ago. I don't know if I'd have been good enough, compared to these kids now. Even at the school I was at. So, being ready from day one is very important, right? Like these guys, a lot of guys, I think, don't understand strength training. All of that stuff has to line up too for guys to have a chance for that early playing time, right?
Absolutely. I think that brings up a good point too, is being as game ready as possible by the time you get to college. I think, as physical as you can get, as quick as you can get, as game ready as you can get. Those are some things that are really important. I mean, that's when we're out recruiting, I think that's something that we're looking for. We're looking for like, okay, how quick could this guy play if he can, right? Could he come in as a freshman, and if our shortstop is if something happens or we need to supplement, is he ready? Right. I think that's something that we look for. How game ready can you be out of high school to play in college? And I know the
Yep.
game's getting better, but high school's getting better too. So it's something that it's cool to go and watch. It's cool to go and see players. So
Absolutely. One last question I have for you, Coach, and I want to kind of finish up here, but I want to get your opinion on the new 5-year rule, right? Like, so it's a big change. We're all sort of figuring out like what's gonna happen. So we're all kind of just in prediction mode, right? But from
yeah.
your opinion, maybe from your discussions in your staff, do you think that has changed the idea of like maybe we can go get a guy or two and have them be here to develop a little bit? Maybe from the 4-year, it was a little bit more like, oh man, we got to get guys, like definitely get them in. Or do you think the roster constraints are still going to be a challenge to bring guys in and kind of have them wait for a little bit? What's kind of your opinion on sort of like allowing guys some more time to develop versus, well, it just means we got more guys to go in and get another year or two in the transfer portal from them instead of only one? Like, what's kind of your prediction in some of this?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think it's a cool rule. I think now if you can play while you're in grad school, I think that's pretty cool. If you do things and you graduate on time, right? Despite transferring and stuff like that, I think that extra year of being able to play is cool. I'm not sure what our philosophy is on what you were asking about with freshmen coming in if they have a couple years to develop. I don't want to speak on that because I don't want to speak for us. But I do think it's cool. I think it provides more opportunity to play the game longer in college before, having to make the decision whether you want to go play indie ball, right? If you don't get signed or drafted, right? I think it's really cool. You get more time. Me and my college teammates always talk about we wish those times lasted longer, right? So being able to do that longer is awesome.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Division II has already announced they're going to go with 5. I don't know about the other places, but it's probably going to become, within the next 5 or 10 years, just sort of the standard, I would say, across college baseball.
I agree. I think Division III will probably follow suit. I would hope, and same with the other divisions. And I think that it'll make college baseball a little bit more fun.
Yep.
More years to develop. We're gonna have. I mean, with the draft getting shorter, I mean, there's already guys that probably should have been drafted that are still playing college baseball right now. So it's really cool. It's very dynamic and it provides some really high level baseball. So it's cool.
Awesome, man. All right, I'm going to leave you with this, Coach. I normally prep ahead of time and give you a chance to think about it, but I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here. So
Okay.
I always like to finish these things up. Just a funny story, a funny anecdote from the playing days, the coaching days. Just one of those stories that it's like, man, we always tell it. We always get a laugh about it. You got a good one for us here to wrap it up?
Yeah, absolutely. So my senior year, the year that we ended up winning and going to a regional, we played Iona at home early in the season. And if you know anything about Buffalo, New York, early in the spring, you'll know that there's probably snow on the ground or it's windy and it's 30 degrees. So the temperature was just above the legal NCAA. You can actually play baseball outside, right? It must have been 1 degree or right on it or something, whatever. So we start playing our game on Friday, and snow starts coming down. Like I'm talking, we stopped the game because no one could see. And I was actually the last batter of that game. I somehow hit a baseball. I popped it up to right field. No one could see it because the snow's white, the baseball's white. So I ended up getting like a double or a triple out of it. But anyways, that's not even the best part. So the next day we show up at 8 a.m. as a team, and we shoveled off the entire field to play a doubleheader later that day. And it ended up going our way. So that was under Coach McCoy too. That was a good one. We always talk about that still. It was a grind and a fun couple of days.
That's pretty. I mean, I'm in Michigan, man, so we definitely have the snow as well, and it's. I think we don't want to scare the people from the south that might want to come up north to play baseball, but it's just part of the
Right,
reality of us, right?
right. Usually, and I should say too, usually it was just scheduling that year, but
Yeah.
usually when you're playing in the Northeast, you play a lot of your first few games on the road, so you are
Hmm.
playing in warm weather. But we had an earlier home series just because of scheduling, and that was what caused it. It was
Yep.
fun, but it was
Awesome.
one of the best memories in college I've had, so I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Awesome, man. Great stuff. Well, Coach, I really appreciate the time today. This was great. I'd love to get you back on again sometime soon. Maybe we can talk infielding or something like
Yeah,
that. Get another topic on. But good luck with the upcoming fall as well, man. If there's anything we can do to help you guys, let us know.
I appreciate it. Thank you, and thank you for what you do for these high school kids. I think this is great, and this is stuff that is needed for them to be making the right decisions, going in the right direction, leading into college. So it's awesome.
Awesome. Appreciate the time, Coach. We'll talk soon.
Of course.